creating a news agenda that reflects an unbiased view of Asian current affairs without relying on external news sources. Asia Vision, Asian news through Asian eyes.
Assalamu alaikum and welcome to ABN News. I am Mariam Shaushut, here to bring you the global news that matters. In the next half hour, we'll cover everything from world politics to cultural insights. Stay tuned. Philippines, China accuse each other of intentionally ramming Coast Guard ships in disputed waters in the South China Sea.
China and Philippines have accused each other of intentionally ramming Coast Guard ships in disputed waters in the South China Sea, the fifth confrontation between the countries in a month. Saturday's incident was the latest in an escalating series of encounters between vessels from the two nations in the same waterway. China lays claim to almost all of the South China Sea, including parts that are claimed by the Philippines, Malaysia, Brunei, Taiwan and Vietnam. Some parts of the sea are believed to be rich in oil, gas and fish stocks and are also valuable waterways for trade routes. The Philippine Coast Guard said that the collision on Saturday took place near the Sabina Shoal. China's Coast Guard said in a statement that a Philippine ship that was illegally stranded at the shoal had lifted its anchor and deliberately rammed a Chinese vessel. The Philippine Coast Guard maintained that its anchor was down. The Philippines say that the ramming of Coast Guard ship on Saturday was unprovoked. Philippine Coast Guard spokesperson Jane Terriella says that the Chinese Coast Guard vessel deliberately rammed and collided with the Philippines ship 3 times.
China's Special Envoy for Pacific Island Countries Affairs, Qian Bo, says at the 53rd Pacific Islands Forum Leaders Meeting that China is committed to helping Pacific Island countries better address climate change.
While addressing a dialogue session on Wednesday, Qian stated that China is committed to helping Pacific Island countries more effectively tackle climate change, gradually fulfilling its promises to itself and the world through concrete actions. He noted that China has already provided green energy support and assistance to these nations, with several projects currently underway, and called on all countries to adhere to open cooperation on green transition and achieve common development. U.S. Deputy Secretary of State Kurt Campbell responded during the dialogue session, expressing willingness to cooperate with China in areas such as climate change. Founded in 1971, the Pacific Islands Forum comprises 18 member nations that meet annually to develop collective responses to regional issues. This year's meeting was hosted by Tonga under the theme Transformative Resilient Pacific Build Better Now, which attracted over 1,000 participants, including political leaders, business figures and civil society representatives from around the world.
As China travel becomes a top trending search on multiple global social media platforms, foreign teachers working in China are sharing their own stories to Chinese students of how overseas tourists long for a visit to the country.
As China travel has become a top trend in search on multiple global social platforms, foreign teachers working in China are sharing their own stories to Chinese students of how overseas tourists long for a visit to the country. It came after an increasing number of global travelers are flocking to China since the Chinese government has expanded its visa-free policy and is creating a payment-friendly environment for foreigners. In Hebei International Studies University, HISU, many foreign teachers started the new semester by sharing their experiences through logs, photographs, showing how attractive the country is and how hospitable its people are to visitors. Students gained insight into China from the perspective of foreign nationals through the wonderful sharing from their foreign teachers, which not only enhanced their cultural confidence and national pride, but also helped them clarify their future goals. There are 75 foreign language courses available at the HISU, with over 200 foreign teachers not only teaching languages but also help spread Chinese culture to the world.
New Zealand and Malaysia aim to boost bilateral trade by 50% by 2030.
New Zealand and Malaysia have agreed to expand their bilateral trade by 50% by 2030. New Zealand's Prime Minister said that the two nations are collaborating on certifications and customs processes to ensure smooth border operations. Both also discussed strengthening education links and youth exchanges so that the next generation have that same close relationship that is currently being enjoyed. New Zealand's Prime Minister is on his first official visit to Malaysia, marking a significant step to further strengthen the already robust ties between the two nations. Acknowledging Malaysia's remarkable growth, the Prime Minister mentioned that New Zealand has much to learn from Malaysia's success. To explore opportunities, he has brought 17 of New Zealand's largest firms to the country. He added that their companies here are also ready to explore opportunities, as Malaysia has long been a top 10 export market for New Zealand. Meanwhile, Malaysian Prime Minister said that Malaysia and New Zealand have agreed to enhance collaboration in trade, investments and research, particularly in halal industry. Malaysia also requested New Zealand to provide more places for its students in new fields in the country. This is particularly for postgraduates in new areas where New Zealand has the expertise, including energy transition and food technology. Earlier, the two leaders discussed issues related to bilateral relations and cooperation under the Malaysia-New Zealand Strategic Partnership signed in 2023, covering 4 pillars: prosperity, people, planet, and peace and security. On a separate matter, both countries are united in calling for an immediate ceasefire in the Gaza conflict and finding a two-state solution between Israel and Palestine. However, Malaysian Prime Minister expressed doubts about the current prospects for a ceasefire, citing insufficient commitment from other countries, particularly the United States. He noted that the only hope is to engage the United States to take a stronger stance and exert their influence to stop the ongoing Israeli aggression.
A boat carrying dozens of people capsized in the Mekong River, leaving nearly 30 people missing, local authorities in Chiang Rai province says.
The incident occurred near the Golden Triangle Special Economic Zone in Bokeo Province, Laos, when a boat carrying around 50 Myanmar nationals capsized. Rescuers have managed to save 10 people, but the search for the missing continues. According to a local tour boat operator, the accident was likely caused by engine failure and strong currents. All passengers were not wearing life jackets. The boat was reportedly chartered by Myanmar nationals to travel along the Mekong River from Laos to Myanmar. Despite search efforts, no additional victims have been found. It is anticipated that any unrecovered bodies will float to the surface in the next 2 days.
Thailand authorities are closely monitoring water levels and preparing for potential flooding as heavy rainfall is expected to continue through September and October.
The warning comes as the country is experiencing the tail end of the rainy season, typically the wettest period of the year. This year, the La Niña weather pattern is exacerbating the situation, leading to above normal rainfalls in some areas, according to the Office of National Water Resources (ONWR). To mitigate the potential impacts, authorities are accelerating water discharge from dams and reservoirs to create more storage capacity for incoming rainwater. Despite concerns over raising water levels, Bangkok officials have expressed confidence that floodwaters will not inundate economic areas or the capital. Secretary General of the ONWR said that agencies have been instructed to expedite the pumping of stagnant water from affected areas. The Royal Irrigation Department has also been tasked with releasing water from dams with excess water without compromising downstream areas. It has already begun releasing water from dams and rivers to reduce the impact of potential flooding. Bangkok has estimated that the floodwaters from the northern region will reach the city coinciding with the high tide. The Drainage Department has reinforcing areas without protective barriers or weak points with sandbags, but it is expected that inner areas will remain unaffected. A comprehensive plan has been in place to manage the situation, and the BMA is confident that Bangkok will be able to withstand the impact of the upcoming floods.
Ghana's Ministry for Food and Agriculture declares a food security crisis in the northern regions and announces a total ban on maize, rice and soya beans to contain the situation.
After weeks of a prolonged famine season without rains, Ghana's Ministry for Food and Agriculture says the country is facing a crisis.
We have a situational crisis on our hands. I come before you today on a critical issue affecting 8 regions of our country. These regions had, up until last Wednesday, experienced dry spells that have led to the disruption of crop production. The lack of rain over the past 2 months has severely impacted the planting season in many of the farming areas.
Data from the country's meteorological agency indicates a drastic drop in the rainfall pattern, a situation farmers describe as unbearable as they call for interventions to tackle the effects of this dry spell. Ghana's Minister for Agriculture says the losses may exceed $450 million, with the livelihood of over 900,000 farmers at risk. In the meantime, the country's president has constituted a national task force to ban the exports of maize, rice and soybean, as it equally works in partnership with donor agencies to tackle the crisis and to mobilize some $500 million United States dollars to navigate the associated impact on the Ghanaian economy.
This is a difficulty, but we have to raise the funds. So far, from the budget side, we have been able to secure up to $160 million. We're also relying on our development partners, and we've had serious engagements with our development partners over the past 1 week or so. And within this short period, we can report that we are able to secure $155 million US.
Minister for Defense in Ghana, Dominic Nitiwul, tells the media the country is treating the issue as a national security threat, as he says activities of violent extremists could complicate the matter on Ghana's northern borders.
I want to assure you to the nation that the security agencies are immediately activating their network to ensure that nobody will take even a single grain out. It helps us as well because we have a big problem, which is the terrorist attacks all over across the other side.
Although the government of Ghana estimates that 10% of the country's agricultural GDP may be affected, it remains hopeful that the recent policy of planting for food and jobs launched by the government will tackle the situation.
The western city of Kursk, the administrative center of Kursk region, has become a temporal shelter for those fleeing the violence along the border areas with Ukraine, as Ukrainian armed forces invaded the region on August 6th.
The western Russian city of Kursk, the administrative center of Kursk's region, has become a temporal shelter for those fleeing the violence along the border areas with Ukraine, as Ukrainian armed forces invaded the region on August 6th. A total of 133,190 people have been evacuated from Russia's Kursk region to date, said the region's acting governor on August 22nd. With little hope of returning home soon, the evacuees, many whom left only with the clothes on their backs, have to accommodate themselves in various forms of temporal shelters. In a recreational park on the outskirts of the city, a mobile medical truck provides much-needed healthcare access for people while they make do with a temporary makeshift clothesline by stringing a line between the trees. And the children here are trying to maintain some normalcy amidst the chaos and violence they recently experienced. In another facility, young volunteers, many of whom are evacuees themselves, assist with distributing basic necessities like soap, rice and toilet paper.
Young Aboriginal women are using ancient family traditions to connect with culture and help comfort patients waiting for kidney transplants. For the women, it's not just a job, but a powerful way to keep their culture alive for generations to come.
In a kitchen in Mabantwa Alice Springs, Tamara Stewart is crushing leaves on an ancient rock. She's making her late Nana's favourite bush medicine, Aramanka.
I used to take bush medicine to my Nana every day after work. Then I lost her at the start of this year.
For Tamara, it's both symbolic and therapeutic. Her Nana died of kidney failure before she could convince her to go on dialysis. Now she hopes to honour her by making bush medicine for others waiting for kidney transplants.
She's always proud of me, and she just wanted me to just keep going forward in my life.
Tamara is one of 3 young Aboriginal women working for Bush Balm, a social enterprise operating out of local not-for-profit Purple House, which runs 22 dialysis clinics across remote Australia.
It's all of their first jobs, and yeah, we have a lot of fun in here.
The women sell the balm through a local store, as well as wholesalers and an online shop, with proceeds used to give free balm to dialysis patients.
So it's really grown a lot since we've had this amazing space. So now we're sending it everywhere, like we send bush medicine to France, to America, to the UK, interstate everywhere around Australia, and to some really remote locations in like Top End and yeah, everywhere.
Tamara feels a sense of pride in continuing her nana's legacy.
Like teach the younger generation when they come, and that generation can teach that, and can just go on and on and on.
Keeping ancient practices alive for generations to come. Chris Marakrani Fitzpatrick, ABC News, Alice Springs.
The push to lower emissions from Australia's mining industry is seeing the emergence of new technologies, and the race is on to find the best solution, with diesel-powered trucks being converted to run on electric batteries and hydrogen.
It's big, green and fully electric. This truck used to guzzle 64 litres of diesel an hour. Its electric conversion cost $2.5 million.
And it's exactly the same as though it's your Tesla, except instead of having one of them, you've got 6 of them.
Electrical engineer Clayton Franklin has worked with some of the mining industry's giants. It's all part of the push towards cutting emissions by the end of the decade.
You burn through, for this truck, $650,000 to $700,000 worth of fuel a year.
And how long does it take to charge that 777 over there?
So we can charge 777 in less than 50 minutes.
And this team is betting it's electric that will replace the diesel machines that form the backbone of the mining industry.
Knowing that you know, there's a step change needed. So yeah, we're hoping that a greener planet with greener trucks, and we'll still be there making green truck bodies.
Clean, green, cheaper.
A potentially cheaper option for a big money industry. Tara de Langraft, ABC News, Kalgoorlie.
And with that, we conclude this edition of ABN News. Thank you all for watching. Hoping you all enjoyed the stories we shared. From all of us here in PSM News, we bid you a good night.
Creating a news agenda that reflects an unbiased view of Asian current affairs without relying on external news sources. Asia Vision, Asian news through Asian eyes.
අලුන් වෙන්න කි අලුන් වෙන්න නුවාන කම වෙච්ච කමුග වඤ්ඤාම එම්මෙ ෆුර්තම එක නුවාන බුණාන මීනු ඒකේ රොඟුරු